Hello and welcome. We're so glad that you've joined us in these dry indoor areas for our fall concert. Thank you seriously for joining us today. We have a really special program prepared for you. I normally start right off with music before I say anything to the audience, but I want to prepare you for these first couple of pieces. The first piece is a little different than most pieces by John Philip Sousa, the March King, than we normally start with. I'm a big fan of starting with marches, but this one's a little different. You might notice in our program there's a digital program. If you follow the QR code at intermission, you can read program notes and detailed thank yous of some folks in there. Our program today, I originally conceived of as a Dia de los Muertos concert to honor those that have come before us, our ancestors, and celebrate those of us who gather for music and for joy, and to celebrate characteristics of folks in our lives. And I still wanted to follow those two things. So the first half of the program is to honor our ancestors, those that have come before us or that live on with us in our hearts. And the second half is to celebrate characteristics of those folks and the people that we get to spend our lives with. So the first piece is a John Philip Sousa march, but it's a little bit different. It's not a flag raiser, it's not perhaps a marchable march, it's a funeral dirge. He wrote this, we don't know why the occasion that he originally wrote it, but he rearranged it for concert band on the occasion of Ulysses S. Grant's funeral. And so it's called The Honored Dead, and it's a gorgeous piece of music. It's very symphonic, but it's very different than lots of his marches. It has some beautiful melodies in the middle, and it starts and ends with a fanfare, and we hope that you enjoy it. And the second piece is a piece by Travis Cross. Mr. Cross, Dr. Cross, is the band director at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. He's annoyingly a Dodgers fan, if you're into that sort of thing. And he is. And he wrote this piece in honor of some folks that had come before. It's based on the hymn tune, Be Thou My Vision. And it reminds me, I shared with the band, it reminds me of my mom. Because I grew up singing hymns with her in church. So there's our first couple of pieces, and then we'll gather a little bit before the third piece. Sousa's The Honored Dead.
Hello and welcome this afternoon. Thank you for being here. I'm Tristan Rausch, our band board president, and I'm delighted that you're here to share music with us this Sunday. First, I want to start with thanking the Bethel High School music team and Bethel School District for hosting us. Thank you, Mallory Cornea and Ryan Whitehead, for helping us and offering their equipment to us. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you. It was a sudden change of location, and they and their leadership jumped in to offer their location to us. So we were really grateful for that. There is a scholarship that our band offers to high school students each year, and it was started by our former conductor Tom Anderson, and it is in his name. And we are currently trying to raise some money to sort of fill that and stock that for a few years to come. And we have had a number of folks who have made donations to that. We are right now we are sitting about $1,500 towards our goal of $5,000, and these folks have helped us on our way towards reaching our goal. Lori Paul, FLS Accounting, Lisa Hernecki, Amy Anderson, Jessica Brewer, Gary Jacobson, Don Neptune, Brett Johnson, and Julie Lademeyer. Please give them a round of applause. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and donations help us make sure that we can use our facilities for rehearsals and performances, and help us get offer this scholarship to those high school students. So if you have any ability to help us reach our goal of $5,000 this year for that scholarship fund, there are ways to donate. If you scan the QR code and visit our website, southsoundsymphonic.org, you can offer. We'll also be available out in the lobby during food and drinks at intermission. And so find a band member, they'll direct you to a board member, and we'll be happy to take your support. Thank you. And please join us at the intermission for those cookies and cookies and juice and drinks and things. We thank you for being here, and we're just delighted to make music with you. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Wetherington to tell us about our next tune.
Board members, while Tristan finds his seat, we all just wave at us. I won't make you stand up. Our board does heroic work to keep our organization moving forward. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. Our next suite of pieces is a really special set of music. Some of the greatest music that we have in the wind band medium for concert bands to play was commissioned by composers to write for us. Somebody took it upon themselves to raise money or donate money, or through an organization, basically hire a composer who was out there and doing great work in whatever their medium was, to write for concert bands. And this set of music came about originally through a partnership with one of our colleague bands in British Columbia, a group called the West Valley Symphonic Band, a community band much like ours. The conductor struck up a friendship over years with a member of the Squamish Nation named Bob Baker. And Bob Baker has traveled. A little bit of his bio, you can look him up if you'd like to learn more about him online. A little bit of his bio is in the digital program that you can read later. Bob has traveled literally the world, but is really well known in the Northwest as being what we call a culture bearer. And he is involved in lots of different sharing culture, elements of culture from the Squamish Nation all over the Northwest. And one of the things that he's done is collected songs. And he struck up a friendship with the director of this community band, and the director convinced him to trust someone to set some of his songs, some of the traditional Squamish songs for concert band. We have just this wonderful suite of music. I think it works incredibly well for concert band. They trusted a gentleman named Robert Buckley to arrange them for concert band. And the first one, there's quite a story about the wolf clan that comes through the music. And it's been really rewarding for us to work on, has stretched us in different ways, and we hope you enjoy this. So there's a set of 3 pieces that we'll present as a suite. They're published separately or they can be performed together. So 3 pieces in a row, this suite of Squamish songs we hope you enjoy, originally by Bob Baker. Thank you so much. So if our first half was in honor and remembrance somewhat of those that have passed or in honor of our ancestors, the second half is inspired by connections with people in our lives, both those that have gone before and those that are still here with us, and inspired by things that they love or they love to do, or things, characteristics in ourselves that the people around us challenge us to embrace, right? And be our best selves. This first piece is a cornerstone of the wind band repertoire. It's the other commission on our program. It was commissioned in the 1950s, which is what I always call one of the golden ages of music for us, for the wind band, for concert band. During that period, post-World War II, there were several individuals and schools of music and professional organizations that commissioned the best and brightest composers in America who weren't yet writing for us, who weren't yet writing for concert band as a serious medium as this group, as opposed to more lighthearted endeavors for concert bands. And this is one of the pieces that came out of that. It's called Chorale and Alleluia. It was commissioned by a gentleman named Howard Hansen, who at that point was the chair of the music department and composition teacher at the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. That if you're a musician, you recognize that name as being one of the premier wind bands in our country, the Eastman Wind Ensemble. He was the chairman of music and he taught composition there, and he was commissioned to write this piece for us, for our concert band. And it's just gorgeous music. There are three main themes. There's a beautiful chorale, and then you'll hear kind of a conversation in the middle between two real rhythmic themes. And my connection, there's only a couple of pieces on the program that I'll share kind of the connection that I had in mind. But this piece was introduced to me by a teacher of mine who was never a teacher of mine. Let me explain. I graduated from PLU, and that same year, my teacher, Tom O'Neill, left to go to a different school, and a new gentleman came and was appointed the director of bands there, named Dr. Radel Bradley. There are lots of folks on stage that have had connections with him too. So he was never my teacher in college, but one of the first things that he did when he got hired at PLU was he reached out to all of us who were alumni and were out teaching, and I was a young teacher and needed lots of support, and he reached out to a bunch of us and he came out and visited school. And although many of us had never been, like I said, in his ensembles, he reached out and made those connections with us. And this was one of his very favorite pieces of music, and he programmed it as often as he could for kind of ceremonies and concerts, and was one of the pieces that was really close to his heart. So I'm playing this one for Radel. Chorale and Alleluia by Howard Hansen. If you are a veteran of our concerts, you recognize this next composer's name because you know that I'm a huge fan of hers. One of our best and brightest contemporary composers is named Kate Nishimura. She's a Canadian-Japanese composer, Canadian and Japanese by heritage, and she spends a lot of her inspiration time in nature. This is one of the pieces that was inspired by her experiences in taking tree walks, nature walks, called The Nature of Trees, and it's about the connection between us and the natural world, but even more so, the connection between people, and her and the people in her lives, the peace that they bring to her, and the challenges that they bring to her to make her the best version of herself. Kate Nishimura is The Nature of Trees. time to tell you a couple of things about the people that are up here in front of me. I'm going to go this way. Can I see if I can? Thanks. So this group of people, if you're veterans of our concerts, you've heard me brag about all the people that are on stage. These are all my friends and colleagues, and we get together every Thursday. Band members, will you help me thank your families for sending you off on Thursdays? The time that we spend together on Thursdays, it takes a lot of effort for us sometimes too, after a long day at work, to make it there, and through traffic, and through weather, and everything. And I just really appreciate these people on the stage for their commitment to each other and to spend time together. I want to share a couple of things about this group with you, because there's some things that are really special about our community ensemble. Every community group that you get to go and see is made up of adults from multiple generations and all walks of life, and I always say that. But one of the things that makes this group really special, and I take this part of the responsibility of my honor to stand in front of them really seriously, is that there are a lot of music teachers in this group too. So if you are a music teacher of young people, or at any level, will you raise your hand and wave at us? How about if you are a teacher but not of music? Wave at us. Got several of those. All the way from 5th grade, 3rd grade this year? 3rd grade to university, right? Yeah? What about not a teacher of any kind? Raise your hands. Let's take two up to yourself. And we have folks literally from all walks of life, in business and public life, and we have a CPA, we have a gentleman that works for Amazon, we have a shop, boutique manager in our band, just all walks of life. And it's what brings us together is music, and I always encourage young people in the crowd to just keep playing, because it's really special that we get to do this. I have former students on stage. I always say, most of you have heard me say this before, there are people on stage that I've known since they were 13 and that they have known me since I was 13. Music brings us together as a community. And I have former students in the audience too. Some of my students, that they and I made music in this very auditorium at one point, right? Parents of former students in the auditorium. And it's really special. This next piece, I actually have a connection with a former student. I heard her university band play this at a convention, at a music teachers convention several years ago. And I brought it back to my students, and I shared it with the band this fall. And again, this is on the celebratory half of our concert. It's slow music, but it's meant to be in celebration of those in our lives that challenge us to be our best selves. You can hear that's a through line of my commentary on this music. And bring us peace. This is a piece called Pacem, original music. It's not based on a hymn tune or any folk tune or anything. The composer chose the Latin word for peace on purpose because he was inspired by some Renaissance composers in some of his compositional techniques. But it's just gorgeous music. Pacem, a hymn for peace by Robert Spittal. Well, we have arrived at our last piece. Thank you so much for joining us today. This last piece, you notice from the title, is called Hobbits. Johann de May is a Dutch composer. He wrote this music. He wrote a symphony for band, 5 movements based on characters and happenings in the Lord of the Rings books and the book The Hobbits. This is long before the modern movies based on the Lord of the Rings. And he would tell, I've had the good fortune to play this music with de May conducting, and he told us the stories that when it came to pass that those movies were, it was out that they were being made, he reached out to the producers and he sent them a CD of the London Symphony Orchestra playing all 5 movements. He was really excited to say, I'd like to be a part of your project. And they said, thanks, but no thanks. In the band world, this music holds just a really special place. And it's some of the most joyous music that I know of. This tells the tale of the Hobbits. It's a little moody at the beginning as Frodo's trying to decide whether to leave his books or not, the comfort of the Shire. And then he sets out on a grand adventure, and you'll hear the band have a little party for about the first half of the music. It's some of the most joyous band music that I know of. Yes, band? Yeah, absolutely. We've been rocking out. You'll see some rock tambourine back in the back of the band too as we play. It's pretty cool. And then we hear a hymn as perhaps Frodo is missing home, which is Sailing Emotion too. And then it ends very quietly as he settles back into his chair with his pipe and his books and his fire, 3rd or 4th breakfast, as it were. So we hope you enjoyed this. Johann de May's The Hobbits from the Lord of the Rings suite.